Hi, I'm Kat and today I have for you a word in Romanian. We will also be talking about true crime and I will be doing my makeup at the same time. So let's start with the word for today. The word in Romanian is fotbal. 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 Well done guys, you just said football. Today's case takes us to the UK. On 25th of March 2022, Abigail and Bradley spent some time in a pub and Abigail caused a very violent scene which ended with her being hit by another man after she had hit him first. But Bradley was already used to this kind of scenes from Abigail, so he didn't really do anything about it. This only enraged her. The fact that she, as the mother of his children, wasn't being defended by him sent her over the edge. But little did Bradley know that on this night, when he told his friend, "I'm dead when I get home," he would literally mean that he was going to die. Bradley's and Abigail's relationship was not only toxic, but Abigail was extremely controlling and violent, even in front of their own children. So let's just start at the beginning. Bradley Lewis was born on 4th of March 2000 to his mother Rachel Hawkins and his father Steve Lewis. Bradley lived at 2 Chipperfield Drive in Kingswood, South Gloucestershire. He was the father of 4 beautiful children: Archie, Scarlett, Logan and Dulcie. Bradley was a special son to both of his parents, a wonderful brother to his siblings. He made his dad extremely happy and always put a smile on his face, and he had a great bond throughout his life with his mom. He was a lovely and caring person to his family and to everyone around him. His childhood was that of, a normal boy, and he was really interested in football. He'd been playing since he was 5 years old, attending Bristol Rovers Junior Football Club until he turned 14, and he later played for Hanham Athletic Football Club. He was very popular, very friendly, known by many people. He had loads of friends. He was a well-behaved and well-mannered young man, only 22 years old at the time of the tragic events of today's case. I'm not sure when and how Abigail and Bradley met, but Bradley and Abigail, they had been together for a few years, and just to point out that they had an on and off relationship with both of them cheating on each other, separating, getting back together, and really, all in all, they had a very toxic relationship. Abigail White was 2 years older than Bradley, and unlike him, her childhood was very different. When she was a child, he was sexually and physically abused by her stepfather. She then went into care for a while and got herself later on in some really bad relationships, including one with a man who was in his 30s when she was only a teenager. Growing up, her behavior became extreme and intensely volatile. She also had fears of abandonment and rejection. She was very controlling and, by all accounts, she was very violent. But 24-year-old Abigail was also an OnlyFans model who called herself Fake Barbie, earning up to around £50,000 a year on the OnlyFans platform. Now, if you are not familiar with the platform, although I feel like I've read about this everywhere lately, OnlyFans is an online streaming platform on which users can buy and sell content that they create. Abigail would post photos and videos naked or semi-naked on her own or with Bradley. It seems that Bradley didn't really have any issue with Abigail doing this. Unfortunately, Bradley's relationship with Abigail would lead to his tragic death. During their relationship, Abigail even stabbed Bradley. That's how out of control she was. She threatened to kill him regularly, and he told his friends that he was scared of her and he wanted to just leave her and end the relationship. But he couldn't really bring himself to do it. Whenever the subject came up, Abigail would threaten to kill herself, but she also threatened to kill him and other people that he loved, including his own mother, other women with whom he had relationships over the years that they have been together, and at one point she even threatened to destroy everything that Bradley loved. She threatened to stab him in the face, and she even stabbed him in the leg, leaving a scar. And then, a few days before the tragic events of today's case, Abigail stabbed Bradley in the arm. On another occasion, Bradley told a friend in a phone call, quote, "Help me, Sophie, she's trying to kill me. She's trying to stab me. She keeps beating me up. She's hurting me," end of quote. This was all done in an attempt to control Bradley. Bradley was the father of Abigail's 3 children, Archie, Logan and Dorsey, and as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, he also had a young daughter, Scarlett, with another woman called Leah. He was closely involved in their lives, taking the oldest children to school and nursery, caring for them and being a good influence on them. But the thing is that both of Abigail and Bradley had other sexual partners, and fidelity was a constant issue between the couple. Abigail would try to catch Bradley, and if she did find out more details, she would try and get him to treat her in a certain way, and, as she said it herself, to make it up to her. Bradley would also lie to her about his other sexual partners. Even though later Abigail would claim that the violence was coming from him as well, witnesses would say that for the most part, when she attacked him, those seeing this only saw Bradley defending himself. This was just the way that Abigail behaved with Bradley. She demanded his almost constant attention, and her messages showed that unless he answered her messages immediately and did whatever she wanted, she would become furious and increasingly volatile. Messages from Abigail recorded in texts and also WhatsApp messages are just horrific. She told her friend in voice messages that Bradley would only tell her the truth if she threatened to stab him or actually beat him up. She even posted TikTok videos where she would try and humiliate Bradley and even bragged about using violence against him.
Obviously, I have no limit when I get angry, and like obviously he said that I need help with that because people are generally saying to me, one of you are going to end up dead, like, and I fully believe that I'm quite capable of killing him if he hurts me again, and or I'm going to end up being in prison. But I don't believe a word that comes out of that boy's mouth. I have to beat the living daylights out of him for him to tell me the truth, and he still don't tell me the truth. He only tells me the truth when he thinks I'm going to kill him. Like when I get a knife out, like when I stab him, like, oh, I just don't get this kid.
Social services were also involved at one point because of their concerns about the home environment that the children were in, but even though Abigail and Bradley were not supposed to be living together, being ordered by social services not to, they did for some time but kept this hidden from authorities. According to Bradley's dad, Steve, Abigail wasn't such a great mom. She would always give the keys to any family members who would look after them, or even a childminder at every opportunity she had. There was a point where Abigail actually recognized that she was struggling with her mental health and she reached out for help. She contacted a mental health agency in the period leading up to this tragedy, but the agency she approached didn't really give her any help. At the time of the tragic events of today's case, Bradley by this point wasn't living with Abigail anymore. He had returned to live with his mother, and he even told Abigail that he was going to leave her. Abigail had just lost a baby that she was expecting and had just recently learned of Bradley's infidelity. On 25th of March 2022, just a couple of months ago, in the afternoon, Bradley told Abigail that he doesn't want to be with her anymore. Even though they regularly talked about this time Bradley decided to break up with her. Friends described their relationship as toxic, and the judge would later describe it as volatile and violent. Bradley had been at the park with Abigail and another family, and he told her, quote, "I don't want to be with you anymore, Abby," end of quote. Later that day, there is a CCTV of Abigail and a group of friends and children spending the late afternoon and early evening at the Horseshoe Public House, which was a pub. But because Bradley was not there with Abigail when she wanted him to, she became enraged. When Bradley arrived at around 6:30 p.m., she physically berated him and caused a massive scene. Abigail had a bottle of wine to drink, a Jager bomb, and 2 rum and cokes, as well as taking a small amount of cocaine. Bradley turned his back at her and he didn't really want to be alone with her at the pub, but Abigail saw this as extremely disrespectful. So, you might ask yourself, what did Abigail do? She punched and slapped Bradley, spat in the face of his friend and another man, and eventually someone hit her. It wasn't Bradley, it was actually another man who hit her. This made Abigail even angrier. He accused Bradley of not sticking up for her. She even called 999 and reported the other man for attacking her, but it was her who actually hit this man first. The 999 call and the CCTV from the pub shows Abigail causing a massive amount of trouble and behaving just hysterically. She gave the police a false name when they called her back, worried about the call that was cut off. Bradley's friends, they tried desperately to get him anywhere else but her home because they were really concerned for his safety. When a friend gave Abigail, Bradley, and one of their children a lift home in his car, Bradley told him that he would be killed for his behavior. Whether he meant this literally or not, he knew that Abigail would do something to him once they get home. After getting home, Abigail sent her son, Logan Layton, who was only 3 years old at the time, to get ready for bed. She then had an argument with Bradley, then went to the kitchen and took a carving knife, stabbing Bradley in the chest with a knife, whilst Bradley was still in the hallway. He didn't even manage to get properly inside of the house. The kitchen knife she used penetrated Bradley's heart to a depth of 7 centimeters. After stabbing Bradley, Abigail became hysterical when she realized what she did, and she tried to call 999. When she couldn't get through, she ran into the garden just screaming. According to Abigail, Bradley looked in shock and he began spurting blood. She helped him take his clothes off to try and stop the bleeding and helped him move into the kitchen. She used his top on the wound when they were in the kitchen. A neighbor heard Abigail screaming and dialed 999, and when the neighbor entered the house, she found Bradley lying on the kitchen floor with Abigail telling her that he had done it to himself. The police were called by the ambulance service at around 8:20 p.m. and Bradley was taken to hospital, but he sadly died hours later from a single stab wound to his chest. And then on 26th of March at 4 a.m., which was the same night, Bradley's mother, Rachel, would get a knock on the door from the police, which ended her entire world. The police went over to give her the devastating news. The shock and distress that Rachel felt lives with her every single day, and it will for the rest of her life. Abigail continued with the lies, phoning a friend and telling police that Bradley was responsible for the stabbing. After being arrested on suspicion of murder, Abigail told police, quote, "I did not stab Bradley." She told everyone at the time that Bradley stabbed himself, and she also tried to clean up the blood. When she gave a statement to the police, she repeated the same thing, that Bradley stabbed himself. The police conducted an investigation, including looking at CCTV footage, an extensive number of social media posts and voice messages, as well as taking more than 200 statements and carrying out 7 video recorded interviews. The saddest part of this is that Abigail stabbed Bradley in front of their 3-year-old son, who gave a moving ABE video in which he showed how, as he said, "Mommy stabbed Daddy." I think that this is just heartbreaking. It was only in July 2022 that Abigail pleaded guilty to manslaughter by reason of diminished responsibility, and she stood trial for Bradley's murder. Bradley was only 22 years old. A post-mortem examination found that Bradley Lewis suffered a single stab wound at least 7 centimeters deep to the chest, which had penetrated his heart. The psychiatrists who gave evidence at the trial agreed that Abigail had a borderline personality disorder, which has its roots in her traumatic childhood. The features of her disorder led to her extreme and intensely volatile behavior. Both the prosecution and the defense said that Abigail loved Bradley, but she also hated him. Dr. John Sandford, a consultant forensic psychiatrist, said that he believed Abigail has a personality disorder, but he also said that the facts of the case suggest she was aware of what she was doing around the time of the attack. Asked what the root cause of the offense was, Dr. Sandford told the jury that in his opinion it was the dysfunctional relationship from which it arose. He later added, quote, "I think it is fair to say she had difficulty controlling her emotions and difficulty controlling anger," end of quote. Abigail told the jury that she only wanted to shock and scare Bradley, and they argued after she felt he didn't stick up for her during the argument at the pub. Quote, "We were arguing and he was pushing me and were in the hallway. I went into the kitchen, I seen the knife on the side, picked it up and walked back towards Brad. I went over to him to shock him, to scare him with a knife, and before I knew it, I had stabbed him," end of quote. Abigail denied that she intended to hurt Bradley, telling the jury, quote, "No, I didn't. It was just over before I even thought. I picked up the knife in anger and upset, but I didn't want to hurt or kill him." She accepted she lied in the aftermath of stabbing Bradley, but denied that she was trying to protect herself. Quote, "I was scared. I was worried about what was going to happen to me, to Brad and the family," she said. "Just wish I had told the truth from the beginning." Jurors also read text messages from Abigail threatening to kill herself if Bradley left her and threatening to stab him if he sees another girl. One said, quote, "I swear to God I'll stab you." Another message read, "I'll stab myself later," telling him, "Get in that car with Anna and I'll get you stabbed." Another message read, "I'm going to stab you in the effing neck." A jury at Bristol Crown Court found Abigail White guilty after 12 hours of deliberations following a 2-week trial. She was sentenced to life in prison with 18 years as a minimum term before being entitled to be considered for release by the parole board. Steve Cam, who oversaw Bradley's football career, speaking to Bristol World, said, quote, "He was one of the nicest kids you could ever meet. Sometimes people say that without meaning it, but with Brad it was genuine. He was very placid, amicable and polite. Just one of the good guys in life, like his dad. He only lived around the corner from where we train, and in the summer he would be in the park playing with children. He would say hello and have a drink. He was part of the club here." End of quote. The following statement was read out by Bradley Lewis's father, Steve, outside Bristol Crown Court on Friday, 21st of October.
Loved, unfortunately, the woman that ended up taking his life. Brad would now be saying, "That's enough now, Dad, just shut up." And my famous saying I'd reply was, "That's my boy talking." I'm the father of Bradley Lewis, and I'd like to read this following statement outside the Crown Court today. Being here talking to you today is something that you never expect to happen to your family, but now that it has, being the kind of person I am and the remainder of Brad's family, it puts into perspective what other people go through, and my thoughts, as I always have, reach out to them. I do not feel that we have received justice, as we have got ourselves a life sentence. Brad's death has brought so much sadness, not just to his family, but the many people that knew him. Proof of this was shown by the hundreds of people that attended his funeral and events that were arranged in his memory. His popularity has also been shown by the memorials that are on display at various locations in South Gloucestershire. We are in a sense lucky as a family to still receive overwhelming support from everyone that knew Brad, Rachel, I or any other members of our family, and I thank those people for that. There's obviously a lot of thanks to go to people, the police, CPS, DCI Ben Lavender and his team, and obviously our family liaison officer Mark, Lucy from Victim Support, and obviously at the end of the day the people that got us in a sense over the line are the prosecution. There's so much has obviously gone on, and it's going to be something that we're going to find very, very difficult to overcome. We also would like to thank, although we may have had our ups and downs, social services, Tracy and Tom, who at the end of the day have secured the fact that my grandchildren, Brad's children, will all be looked after until at least they're 18. And rightly or wrongfully, I have to thank Sherry and Tony. I know that's Abigail's mum and stepfather, because they're the ones who have taken on the children, and in the future.
Bradley's dad said that the family feel like they still don't have justice following Abigail White's sentence. He told the Sun Online, quote, "We've got a life sentence. I'm nearly 64 years of age, so my life sentence might be less. Anything could happen to us at any time than the sentence she's got. We've got hundreds of friends, Brad did too, and there wasn't one person who thought she should get the verdict of manslaughter. People just wanted her, in a sense, to rot in hell. We were pleased with the verdict of murder, but we would have liked a few more years on top. It doesn't feel right, really. We are glad she's locked up, but we don't feel we've got justice because we are the ones with the full life sentence. It's been horrendous, it's brought everything back to day one, and unfortunately we feel like we are up against a brick wall all the time. We feel like we can't see a light at the end of the tunnel." He also added, "She's admitted before that she might need some help and support, but she never takes it. But as everybody now knows, Abigail White has to be in control of everything, and if she's not in control, she can be nasty to people. You have to live your life according to her, but we never did. We wouldn't bow down to her wishes. Unfortunately, my son did because he loved every bone in her body and his children worshipped him. We've all wished that we did a bit more to get the relationship ended, but we all know full well that harm could have come to Brad whether they were apart or together, and that's the sad thing about it all. As I always say, my favorite saying has always been, 'That's my boy. I'm proud of him, I love him so much, and we loved each other so much, and he was loved by so many people, family and friends." End of quote. Over 800 people came to Bradley's funeral and wake. He was really, truly loved by everybody, and now not only are his 4 children going to grow up without their father, but his 3 children with Abigail will grow up knowing that their mother killed their father. And 3-year-old Logan will forever be traumatized by what he had to witness. And with this we got to the end of today's video. Please, like always, let me know what you think of this case in the comment section down below. I also personally think that her sentence is very low. It's too low considering what she had done, and I really hope that when it comes to her being considered for parole, I'm hoping that they will consider to keep her in prison, because she really deserves to be in prison for her whole life, should I say. 18 years is nothing compared to the tragedy that happened and all the people left behind. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you are interested in the makeup that I use for today's look, all of the products will be linked in the description down below under this video. Also, I do take case suggestions, so if you have any case in particular that you want me to cover, just give me the name or whatever details you have in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to cover the case. For now, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!